Okay. So 33 says, experimental psychology requires the application of statistics to interpret empirical data and assess their significance. All right, so psychology, you need to be able to do statistics. I'm like, all right, I guess that counts me out then, but cool. A person will not be able to understand such applications without training in statistics. Okay, so to be able to understand it, you have to have this training. Cool. Therefore, the more training one has in statistics, the better one will be at researching the experimental psychology. I love this question because I feel like we talk about this flaw all the time. Jessica, what is our conclusion?
The last sentence, therefore, the more training one has in statistics, the better one will
Is
be.
this valid?
No.
No, like, the answer is always no. Why is this not valid?
Well, just because you have more training in statistics doesn't guarantee that you're going to be better at researching.
Yeah, this is like saying, like in order to get ice cream, you have to have $5. Therefore, the more money you have, the more ice cream you're going to like for sure eat. Like you don't like just because it requires something doesn't mean that it goes on to then be this correlation, right? So essentially, if I was going to prephrase this, it's saying like, okay, so A, in order to have A, you need to have B. Therefore, the more B you have, the more A you're going to have. And that's just not valid, right? It's like almost like all or nothing, right? You either have the skill or you don't. You either can speak Spanish or you can't speak Spanish. We're not saying the more Spanish you have, the more fun you're going to have in Spain. It's like, nope, you either have it or you don't. Are we good up to this point? So when I went into my answer choices, I was looking for something that's going from saying like, okay, you need these things to then saying that, so if you have one of them, it's going to be a spectrum. And so let's go ahead and start with E. And it says, since most disease processes are biochemical in nature, an understanding of chemistry will enable or will allow one to understand most diseases. Therefore, one needs little more than training in chemistry to be able to master medicine. I thought this was a terrible answer because what is the flaw of E, Sabrina?
Since most disease. It's saying like because you only need little more than training. Oh, sorry, it's cutting off. In I can't see it, but isn't the flaw like just because you need a little more training in chemistry to be able to master medicine doesn't have to do with the biological nature and understanding chemistry to understand most diseases?
Well, yeah, so just because understanding of chemistry allows you to understand most diseases doesn't mean that training in chemistry you then can like master medicine. Like there's a huge jump between variables here, right? So I was like, yeah, that was pretty easy to cross off. All right, D says, since many disease processes are biochemical in nature, unless one understands chemistry, one will not be able to understand the explanation for many diseases. So essentially, if you understand many diseases, that means that you understand chemistry. Therefore, if one has no training in chemistry, one will not be able to master medicine. I was like, not our flaw. Like we don't have any type of spectrum going, like, going from a necessary condition to then saying the more of the necessary condition, the more of the sufficient. And also we jump variables here as well. So was it pretty easy for people to cross off D? Excellent. All right, C says the main cause of heart attack is A, the buildup of plaque on the interior wall of the coronary arteries. Okay, cool. So the main cause is the buildup of A. It develops over an extended time. Therefore, if one is at risk for A, one becomes more likely to suffer a heart attack as one gets older. I actually didn't think this one was flawed, to be honest. Did anybody else see a flaw with this one? I was thinking like, okay, so the main cause is this. It develops over a period of time. Therefore, if you are at a risk of A, you become more likely to suffer. I would think so, yeah. Like, I didn't think it was flawed. Okay. And then B says, since in most jobs there are annual wage or salary increases the longer one has worked, the more raises one will receive. Therefore, in a typical job, the longer one will work, the greater one's income will be. I also didn't think this one was flawed either. Right? Like if you're going to get raises over time, like you're going to be making more in the future. Malika, what did you like about B? If you're able to answer, you might not because I know you're at work.
Well, I liked it because I thought it was like similar in the flaw where it doesn't like the raises itself don't necessarily need to get higher. Like maybe your total income will be, but that doesn't necessarily mean that.
But like, okay, so the longer one works, the more raises you get.
Mhm.
Therefore, the longer you work, the greater one's income will be. Like, I think that's valid, right? Like,
It could stay the same though.
even though you got more raises.
Yeah, like you could, like we don't know if the raises are going to be more each time.
But wouldn't it still be, even if your raise is $5, wouldn't that still be $5 more than you had when you started?
Yeah, but then the longer you work,
I honestly just thought about this in like comments, like not, I don't want to like in common sense where I was thinking like, yeah, like it doesn't matter how many raises I get. Like if you get more raises as you work, if year one I make $5 and I get a $2 raise, then on year two I make $7. Even if year three I only get a $1 raise, the longer I work, the increase my salary does technically go up.
Yeah.
Did anybody else think that this was flawed? I could see I could see people fighting for there to be flawed. I just didn't think this and be like, oh, this is a terrible argument. Did you think it was flawed, Sabrina?
I didn't think this one was flawed.
Nilo, is that how you pronounce it? Is it Nilo? Did you think it was flawed?
Yeah, it is. No, I didn't really honestly, this didn't match any of what was going on in the original one, so I didn't even think too much about what the flaw could be. But yeah, I didn't see anything like obvious.
Okay, cool. All right, so then A says, most people need the love and support of others. Without it, they become depressed and unhappy. So people need love and support. Therefore, in most instances, the more love and support you have, the happier you will be. So they're saying like you need this thing. And so then the more of this thing that you have, the more of our sufficient condition you'll have, which totally matches our stimulus in 33. Do we all see that? Cool. The reason that I didn't like this one at first, and I left it open and I didn't cross it off, was because it didn't match in strength. Like our stimulus says experimental psychology like requires this, and then ours says most people. So that was the one thing. But when I looked at the other answer choices, it was by far the closest, and at least it truly was a parallel flaw. It didn't parallel the argument completely though. Which is probably why this one is like a level 4 parallel flaw question, since it's not like a perfect parallel in the level of strength. Does that help, Jessica?